These would be like top 5 guaranteed tips that will help you defensively. It doesn't matter if you watch this when you're in elite level or maybe if you're in Division 7. Okay, I guarantee you do exactly what I tell you without very basic, these are just basic settings and change that you can do that will dramatically improve your win rate. In light of recent developments, I think most people have adapted to defending. Like, I'm asking a lot of people, let me ask you as well, write down a comment section down below. Maybe you thought defending was really hard at the beginning of the year. Do you still have the same stance that it's as hard as it once was, or are you adapting? Maybe look, I wanted to go over first of player choices. You guys know me, I'm Mr. Controversial. I say a lot of things in this game, but I always ask you. I always say things, and I say this. I may say a lot of controversial things, but when am I ever wrong? Of course, we can all be wrong. I'm not saying I'm always right all the time, but most of the time I'm correct. And this is why I said players like Virgil van Dijk, they're just too slow. 78 sprint speed is not good enough. Now, if you defend perfectly and you don't commit a play going forward, then I think he's a good player. I think he's still one of the best centre backs, but I feel like the pace is just so low. He isn't that overpowered player that you'd once see him as, and that's why he's not used. How many pro players use him? You know, when I said at the beginning, everybody kept laughing at me, oh, how can you say Virgil van Dijk's not meta? But after that -10, don't forget they've nerfed the shadow as well. So he dropped the sprint speed from 87. So last year he had 87 sprint speed. Now he has 84 with the chemistry style. So it's even worse. So what I said to you is go with players, as I mentioned, that have, as I said, high sprint speed. Don't worry about stand tackling. Oh, I got worried about my stand tackling. Guys, it's not important. Understand and ask this question. How many times have you won the ball with your striker? Do you do anything special? I know with 85 stand tackle and above, you get this new animations. Forget that. Positioning is more important than anything. If you're part of my Patreon, you will know those few videos that helps you dramatically in defense. What I've always told you, the Maldini example that I gave you, the analysis of Virgil van Dijk in real life, it's all about positioning. Defensive awareness is what impacts speed, the run and jockey. Now, apart from Van der Ven, I would recommend that your defender has to have the jockey playstyle. If you've got money, then go ahead and buy Thuram. He's one of the best centre backs inside the game. I bought him on one of my other accounts just to test him out, see if he is really that good. I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, for anyone watching this, if you've got the money, this guy will be a game changer. If you haven't got the money and like you know you want to work towards someone, Kunde, best gold centre back in the game. And I'll tell you this again, and you can laugh now. You will see fruition. Jockey playstyle, just like it was last year, is the most important playstyle inside the game. Defensively. Most important. Forget this bruiser plus. Anticipate wasn't even the meta last year, but a lot of the sheeps follow the flock, or everyone's flocking around someone who said this, and everyone thinking it's overpowered. And this is one thing I wanted to mention. If you want, you can use players like Germa. So Germa is a player that I used. The only downside is she's 5'5". But let's say you're really struggling with jockeying and you know that you can't afford someone that's really expensive. I would recommend someone like Germa because she's got the jockey playstyle and it makes her move much more quicker. In fact, for every defensive position, you know who won the best right backs I've used that cost under 5k this year? It's Robinson. Because he has the jockey playstyle. And I could dump a sentinel on him if I really, really want to, but I put a shadow on him and he's got a jockey playstyle, so he's so effective defensively. Him alongside with Hincapi, although you can argue Hincapi is a bit more of a, I'm using him at centre backs, but as a left back, he's fantastic. But what I would say is go put shadow on these guys. Look, go 90 sprint speed and above. Get as close to 99 as you can. Because the truth is, okay, maybe in Division 7 it's not really that common. Maybe in Division 4 and 5 you're seeing a bit more through balls. But as you edge towards Division 2, Division 1, there's a lot of first time through balls. They're still in the game, by the way. There's a lot of first time through balls. There's a lot of player lock through balls. Incisive is one of the best attacking play styles as well. So you need the pace to recover. Remember, everyone looks at what pros are using. And I think Pachar, as I say, is one of the best centre backs inside the game. I like him. But remember, a professional player, some people are saying, oh, some pros are using Marquinhos. I think Marquinhos is a good card. I wish his sprint speed was higher, intercept play style. But don't forget, when you're watching this, it's like me putting you in a regular car. And you and Lewis Hamilton have a race. You have a regular car, and you both are Lewis Hamilton. You see in Top Gear, you know when they invite those guests in, you're going to get different times. Lewis Hamilton's going to be much faster than you because he knows how to control that play. It's the same thing. So although Marquinhos is a very good centre back, I still think he's one of the best centre backs in the game. But for the average player, anyone below elite level, you're better off getting someone who's faster, 90 sprint speed and above. Now, what I'd recommend is, I'll tell you another cheap option. Let's say, like, you know what, no, I even got 30k. Okay, don't worry. Lacroix, okay, naturally got good sprint speed. Just put a center on him. So if you cannot get the play, like, even if you have right now, like, let's say, I'm gonna be honest. Let's say you have a 500k center back. Someone like Kunde is probably better than every other center back you have inside the game. Carlos Alberto is going to be good. But like someone like Blanc, they're just too slow. Now, again, I think they're very good players, but I think they're just too slow for the average player. So you're asking me, do you know what I'm going to go for? Like, I'm going to tell you honestly, I'm looking at 83 sprint speed minimum. That is honestly what I'm looking at. But anyway, that is the players. We're going to go over some tactical stuff in a second. The next thing I wanted to go over something that's so important. And I've been banging on about this for 2 or 3 years. And I think look, everyone has a right to have an opinion. Even I have an opinion. Some people might think I'm wrong. But I can tell you my opinions are tested. And I look at a lot of gameplay. This is my job. You have to remember, my job at the end of the day is to look at thousands of gameplay. I look at average players, pro players, and I make videos on what I think is the most effective. Okay? Now, defensively, you do not, I'm going to repeat this again. Okay? You do not need to use advanced defending. The game look, unlike most other things, like L1 switch used to be very good. Now they made a mess of it. EA, what have you done with L1 switching? That's not a story altogether. Tactical defending is all you need. I've made a video on this before. Forget this bruiser. Look, this is like, imagine you driving, imagine you don't know how to drive. Okay, imagine let's say you're a bad driver. Most people on the road are bad drivers anyway. But let's assume 50% of people watching this are bad drivers. It's wrong to assume, but let's assume they are. But 99% of the time, let's assume you're a bad driver, right? Let's say you have problems changing gears, okay? Think of this like a manual car, okay? You might say, oh, it's fun to drive manual, but try driving in London, standstill traffic. Do you know how annoying it is? I had a manual. Honestly, I got rid of it. Now I go with shift paddles. If I want to have fun, I use that. But I do not drive on a daily car, a manual car. It's too much of a headache. And plus, automatic cars, they change gears faster. You seen the Nissan GTRs when they first introduced them, the launch controls? Before it was different, it was a bit more manual. Now, all launch controls are automatic. DSG, dual clutch gearboxes, nothing has to be done by a human. And AI is always, or a computer is always faster. It's the same with defending. Why would you want to make it more complicated for yourself? Now, are there a few isolated incidents where advanced defending is better? I think there is. And that is for people that are in the elite division. If professional players are still using tactical defending, then why are you trying to use advanced defending? Now, people keep going over this example, and I'm telling you, you have to trust me here, okay? You might think, oh, but I can barge someone now when I'm at this angle. But the thing is, if you're defending properly, you're not going to run to where the ball is. You're going to run to where the ball's going to be. So if anything, what this actually is doing is actually promoting bad defensive practices. And that is why people who used the bruiser playstyle last year are struggling this year, because they didn't know how to defend in the first place. They were using a mechanic where they can get away with bad defending, and now they're crying that defending is so terrible and they want to leave the game. So this is what I'm trying to say. Don't use advanced defending. Forget it. The game, unlike everything else EA does, the game actually makes the right choice on when to do a shoulder to shoulder or to do a stand tackle. There's less of a reason to use it this year than last year. Okay. Now the next I want to go is player switching. Now, there is a massive issue with L1 switching. I'm actually considering turning this on. We're going to go over this on another day. But player relative, ball relative. Now, if you've been playing a game for an amazingly long time, let's say 3 years, stay on player relative. Just skip this section, ignore what I'm going to say. If you're new to the game, use ball relative. Okay. Now, it's much better for switching. It's consistent. Statistically speaking, I will tell you, this has probably got, like, for the average player, this has got like an 80% success rate. This is almost 99% because you're always switching to the players closest to the ball. If you're asking me, this is the most consistent switch you can get. Most people are struggling defensively because they're not switching on time. I would strongly recommend using ball relative if you're struggling with right stick switching. But again, I think on the very high level, elite plus, pro level, player relative is better. But that's a complete different argument. People watching this are not on that. And I'll be honest, if I was a regular consumer of the game, and let's say I wasn't my job to test it out, I would be on player relative as well. But because it's my job testing out, I use ball relative without a shadow of a doubt. I got a video on the Patreon series where I can compare this in detail, and I explain to you why, statistically speaking, ball relative is much better. Okay, now we're going over that. Now I want to go over some defensive principles, okay? I'm going to bring out my tactical board, okay? Okay, now, a lot of this, by the way, you're going to see, you can see a lot of these videos on the Patreon, more in-depth videos like this with a tactical board, but also we show you gameplay examples of the player position. So if you want to see that, check out my Patreon videos. There's actually a video coming out tomorrow. It's being edited right now on common key defensive mistakes that you can quickly adjust to improve your gameplay. Last year, if my opponent had the ball, what I would do normally most of the time is I'd run back with my CDM. I'm still doing the same thing, but the difference is, let's say my CDM is beat, and this could happen on a higher level. It could be a simple ping pass or tiki-taka pass. I am now holding my defensive line. I'm not even being aggressive. So normally last year, if I was confident that I'll win the ball, even someone like myself who knows when to bring a defender out, I would not even take that risk. I think now breaking a defensive line is almost suicidal. It's basically to the point where you could concede a goal almost guaranteed. The reason why is this year, because it's so easy with R1 control special. Also, check out Meta Mechanics. There should be a video coming today on R1 dribbling to use inside the box to easily get past everyone right now. But with R1 dribbling, it's so easy for you to manipulate the ball. And even if you defend correctly, and I could be using like someone like Kunde, I could be using a top tier defender, someone like Kunde. And even if I position myself very well defensively, and I like to say I pride myself on my defending, I would say unfortunately my defending is more better than my attack. Maybe because maybe back in the day my attack used to be much better, but now obviously I use a lot of basic gameplay. Like now I don't even use skill moves. You remember that back in the days, do drag backs, but I deliberately play very slow, so the average player could watch my gameplay and copy it. But like let's say for example, someone like Kincapi who's got the jockey playstyle, or someone like Germa, I keep saying Greenmom, I keep thinking Lord of the Rings anyway. Germa, who's got the jockey playstyle, when you're in this situation, you have to be almost 101% certain, because it's so easy for your opponent to beat you. You know how normally last year you would kind of push up and try to tackle the ball? Now I'm literally just waiting. If that means that sometimes I'm that deep inside my box, I am not now. I'm literally defending the angle towards the goal purely, and I'm not trying to get the ball. Remember, as I always taught you, when you are defending, your job is not to win the ball back, just like in real life. Do you ever see Virgil van Dijk run forward to go and get the ball? No. He pushes the player on the weak foot, and he reduces the statistical chance of that striker to scoring. It's the same inside the game. You basically want your opponent to think, you're going to have a shot anyway. How can I reduce the chance of it being a good shot? Therefore, you let them do a long shot or a shot on their weak foot or an off angle, okay? So that is the way that I'm purely defending. I'm not even trying, even if I know the ball is there and I know I can tackle the ball, because a jockey is so slow right now, in contrast to the speed of a player with left stick dribbling or controlled sprint, and most people are going towards technical, that's a very meta play style, you cannot commit. So that is why I'm holding my back four. Now, in terms of CDMs, okay, I'm bringing my CDMs back all the time. I'm using Box Crasher. If you don't know how to defend, don't use Box Crasher, because I think you can overload. It's the same with fullbacks. Now, fullbacks, bringing them forward, if you're a top tier player, it's completely fine. This is like basically going around a corner with a rear-wheel drive car and putting your foot down. The average person's going to spin out, probably have a car crash. Someone who knows what they're doing can maintain speed, as long as they don't press the brake down and shift the weight from one side of the car to the other side. They're very much going to take that corner very well, and you get a nice slide. But what's happening is that a lot of people who are not good at the game, and when I mean not good at the game, I say this very honestly, because I think I want you to improve. It's like kind of like love me later, hate me now. But if you struggle to defend right now, triggering a fullback in behind, you know where I'm seeing most people get destroyed, and you probably notice watching this right now, most people are getting destroyed like this angle here, and let's say for example like a defensive lines like this, and what happens is there's a player in behind, and even if they're coming back, that through ball just gets pierced through behind. And ask yourself this: how many times are you getting taken by this ball? And then once that player makes that run, again, that's what I'm saying, you need the sprint speed to recover. But even if I've got a player with 90 sprint speed, there's no guaranteed that I'm recovering. So the way that I'm defending now is I'm just expecting there to always be a through ball. Even if there's not, I'm expecting there to be a through ball So 99% of the time, I am running back with this play over here. 99% of the time, I'm anticipating it. And if that means that I'm out of position, that's fine. I'm making sure I'm in the right area. And that's why I'm saying this bruise and all this nonsense, it's not going to help you if your positional play is bad. So don't bring your defensive line out of shape, okay? Now, the one thing I wanted to mention is losing the ball. You know how most goals are conceded, and you can see this on the Patreon series. We'll even go over some real life examples. I would make the assumption that anyone, I would say every single player inside a game, pro players included, most of the goals are conceded, in my opinion, more on the casual side though. I would say over 50% of the goals are conceded by giving the ball away and losing the ball in your own half. Just like in real life, go look at the statistics of how many goals in real life. Anyone as football coaches right now, go look at how many times the ball is given away and how many times it results in a very high, even though I don't believe in XG per se, and high XG rating or a goal going in. When you lose the ball, especially in FC, because you see in real life, at least you have some sort of positioning individually. There's one brain controlling 11 players. You have some sort of unity, but the game, you can only control one player at a time. So the game unifies when the players are positioned. Now, what happens is when you lose the ball in possession, depending on what roles you have, your fullbacks are higher, and your opponents could just win the ball back here simply, get the ball and counter you. So you know what I'm going to tell you? Do not lose the ball. Go watch your gameplay back, okay? Go watch your gameplay back and look at how many goals you will concede from losing the ball. And that means that if you get the ball down in the wing situation, and let's say there's a player making a run down the wing, and you cannot make that pass, but that's a good attacking opportunity, that means you don't make the pass. I think also because of stamina being very effective, people can press you a lot easier than they otherwise would have. And I think that's why it's easy for your opponent to press you on the ball with a player, not pressing in general, but I feel with less dribbling, although it's good, people can still press you as quick. And I feel like someone running at you with teammate contain you're still gonna lose the ball. So don't lose the ball. If you're unsure, just go backwards. Am I saying go ahead and pass the ball? Remember I said to you when the game came out, people are like, oh, it's going to be a counter-attack game. Yes, on the low end, but on the higher end, it's going to be a possession game. You will see. I'm in the league division now. Honestly, it's more possession being held than anything else. Some games are those counter-attacks, but most people that are actually genuinely good is possession, holding the ball, being smart. They're trying to counter, but they're also not making silly mistakes. So look, those are just some key things that you can easily change. It doesn't matter what level you are. You can make those changes and you can improve your gameplay dramatically. That means, and if that means that maybe you have a centre back like Marquinhos and he's 80k and he's untradeable, if that means you got to get rid of him, then get rid of him. Because if you know your positioning is bad, you need the sprint speed to recover. If you're a top tier player, you can get away with it. But if you don't, you need that sprint speed to recover. And let me ask you this question. If pro players are using shadows on Pacho, why would you use someone with 77, 76 sprint speed? Just ask yourself that question is what I want to ask you. Anyway, look, you can see more of these videos on the Patreon series. I just thought I'd release this on YouTube. Kind of do a favor for everyone else. But it's like a sneak peek. I have a lot of these videos on the Patreon series. You can see my videos from last year. In fact, we got a lot of gameplay tips. But have a look. If anyone's watching this right now, if you are part of the Patreon, look at some of my gameplay analysis. We analyze some pro gameplay. We explain, for example, how even like on the pro scenes, for example, some of these issues, even if it's last year, a lot of it is just the basics of the game. And it's like moving the ball, manipulating the ball and losing the ball. And what happens if you lose the ball in these situations? And of course, don't forget, check out my defending series. We've got the defending series where we go over this in detail. In fact, as I always mention to you, the defending series alone, we go over the theory of something. So I explain, for example, so let's say, for example, I explain like defending with CDMs. I'll explain to you always the theory of it so you understand where positionally you should be. And then what we do is we normally put a gameplay example. So like this example here, this is more of an elite tutorial here. But for example, I explain how to use teammate contain. So you will see, for example, when to use teammate contain, when to let go, when to know when to push forward, and when to attack aggressively. So check out those defending videos. But if you finished it already, there's other videos there. And also the real life examples. People are just skipping this section. These real life football examples are very, very important. We talk about, for example, situations like clearing the ball, like losing the ball, for example, that PSG game, how the ball was lost. These are very important things. This is an example of losing the ball. And this tells you a solution of how to fix it. But in real life, goals are conceded from losing the ball. It's the same with like conceding counterattacks, you know, and not running back. You can see this is some example with the Man City game, the Arsenal Man City game. But remember, just like FC, you want to learn football the real way. Those that are struggling right now are the mechanic abusers, the Trivela abusers, people who never knew how to defend, spamming out this advanced defending bruiser nonsense. They never focus on defending. Do you think pros are just bad at defending? They might have to adapt to the game, the meta, but the defending is always good at a very high level. So make sure you check out those defending videos. We've got so many other videos as well. But link will be down below in the description. Don't forget, if you don't get better after 1 month, we will refund your money. That is the Nil Guys guarantee. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. Link will be down below. We should be able to click on the right-hand side, opposite side of the screen right now. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace.